Welcome to Shop Talks. This is a production brought to you by Impressions, which puts on this trade show, and the Ink Kitchen, inkkitchen.com, and our YouTube channel where you can find free information for decorators at all levels. So today I'm here with Rick Roth of the Ink Kitchen, and we're talking about sustainability and in particular how to reuse things and prevent things from going to waste. So Rick, what do you got to say?
So, there's the 3 R's of environmentalism: reduce, reuse, and recycle. I think sometimes people forget the reuse or reduce. So, and recycling is sometimes a sham. Sometimes when you recycle plastic, the recycling company throws it in a landfill even. It's not the greatest thing. So, at my company, we've been trying to some approaches, some of which are a little different, and so I thought I would share those. So one is, I guess the other thing I wanted to say is that it's really complicated sometimes. People want simple answers, but sometimes it's very, very complicated. What is environmental? So I'll give an example. Mailers. We send out actually thousands and thousands of mailers. I highly recommend this company, and they didn't pay me to say it, Eco Enclose. They can lay out all the options for you. So just in talking about them, excuse me?
So what are the options, Rick?
So there's whether they're recyclable, whether they are made from recycled content, they're compostable, some are biodegradable. Some things biodegrade but give off greenhouse gases, for example. And then you have the problem of the shipping. So if they come from Colorado, I think it is, when they ship them to you, some of the paper mailers are very, very heavy, and you've used a ton of energy to ship it that time and also ship it when you send it with the post office. So they recommend, and I actually agree with them, that the best option at the moment is their bags made from recycled plastic, half of it being post-consumer waste, and it's also reusable. So it has 2 adhesive strips, and you can either send back what you got wrong or you can use it again. So it has another use there. You can read a lot more about it, but I kind of just wanted to get into how complicated it is sometimes. It's not easy.
Okay, so packaging is one area. What other areas are you focusing on in the shop?
So here's a funny one. We had a band, and we would take our reject shirts. I think you can't see there was a breast patch that's hidden, but they would just take any shirts that we had and just print Schnockered. That was the name of the band. And so I was telling this story yesterday. I lost the slide. Anyway, there's a punk band, the Angry Samoans, and there's a vintage shirt I found a picture of online, and it was a Hard Rock Cafe Belize shirt, and it just said Angry Samoans across it. So there's, kind of a funny reuse of shirts.
It's also probably could be cheaper than buying blanks.
Cheaper than buying blanks. I don't know what happened to the other slides. Anyway, so another thing we've done to use up stock. So this year at Farm Aid, we used this hat. It saved them some money, but it also used up something that was not going to get used. It's an Anvil organic hat, and the thing about it is it's at this giant warehouse of remainders, and they have a ton of them, and they don't exist anymore, and so it's hard to sell that stuff. So Farm Aid used these. I'm also working on a climate change concert merchandise program for next year, and they're also going to try to use up things that otherwise would go to waste.
So where can you find remainders? How do you locate those?
There's a lot of people selling vintage stuff or remainders. I also couldn't find a picture of it, but there's an artist, Anais Mitchell, and what she did was at one point she would go to thrift stores and buy blank shirts used shirts and print the designs on those, both saving her money and also using up something else that might go into a landfill. So, I mean, in this case, they're perfectly good hats. Sometimes you just can't use what you want to use.
All right. And how about like specific to your shop? I know print shops, you end up with a lot of samples or extra garments you had that you didn't need to fulfill orders. Everybody seems to have a lot of leftover things lying around.
Yeah, so we have contract customers that abandon their goods. We have, we're sending extras. We get a lot of samples. So we came upon the idea at Mirror Image, in fact, it was you, that
Yes,
to call
it
it.
was.
So we printed for an event, and they printed one shirt that was what they wanted exactly, and then the other one with a discount offered color roulette. And
You
so
get
it's
what you get, and you don't get upset.
Yeah.
Except you do.
yeah. So we were able to just use up shirts that we had. So we maybe had a full complement of larges in red and blue, but then, you know, we had yellow and medium. And so people got what they got, and they were happy to have the bargain and also to use up something that otherwise might not be used. I mean, I know other shops. I remember seeing pictures of a friend of mine's shop, and he was throwing a 30-yard dumpster of T-shirts out, you know?
People also do sort of yard sales.
Yeah, I have a friend that does a yard sale every year, and I think people look forward to that. And he sells off his blanks and some of his misprints where the customers allow it. You got to watch it. Some customers don't want you to do that.
Okay. And what about mills, for example? Or manufacturers?
What about them?
Like that pile of free shirts we have over there.
Oh, yeah. So I think in this case, Los Angeles Apparel brought shirts that are just slight seconds. And for people to get a handle on the shirts, they've given them out to the attendees, and they get to, you know, see how they fit and
They
do
also
test
have
printing, and they get the feel of the fabric, get to bring it home, right?
They have a really great label on them, though, that says, "This is an imperfect gift." Maybe the dye lot was off from the specs or things like that. So rather than just dumping them, you know, or trying to hide them, like you said, they're gifting them to people so you can check out what they have.
So I've also been working on a project that is printing on paper that was already used on one side, or too imperfect to do offset printing on, and then taking house paint that would be otherwise thrown out. My city of Cambridge, they told me they throw out 2 tons of paint a year alone just in that one town. So I found a couple of additives that I'm able to add to the paint and print posters with it. So we'll print something to obliterate the image on one side and then print something new on the other. We've determined we will not match Pantone. We'll just make things look good, because Pantone can be the devil sometimes.
We have
a lot of things
talk about that.
A lot of things are thrown out because they're not quite perfect, and color matching is the devil of making things that are not quite perfect but are perfectly good. So if you're able to use up a color and then start in with a new color that's similar and make sure it looks good, you would save a lot of ink and paint, because otherwise you don't get quite to the bottom and that gets thrown out. All right, and then I have a funny reuse story.
Go for it. Oh, yes.
Every Christmas, I take shirts that are no good, cut them into strips, and you know those pot holders you made in camp? You can make a nice bath mat or rug
Just
with
make
a loom.
Giant loom.
A giant loom, piece of plywood and a bunch of finished nails, and you got a loom. And I make these, and they last for years. So there's my other reuse. Maybe not going to happen on a mass scale of dealing with millions of T-shirts, but everybody, I think the example is just that if you're creative, you can also do a lot of saving.
Yep. All right. Anything else? All right. Want to say thank you to our sponsors, Los Angeles Apparel, Alpha Broder, SPSI, Lane 7, Stalls, and Transfer Express, and of course to Impressions. We have lots of free articles on our blog, inkkitchen.com, and a lot of content up on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.